Fortnite.
Check me out, check me out. Boom, bam, bam, bop. Bada bop, boom, pow.
If you were to tell me that in 2018 the trendy fad that is Fortnite Battle Royale would still be around, I probably wouldn't believe you. Alas, here we are, with Fortnite still bringing in characters from every possible facet of media you can even think of. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I enjoy it. The only way I can describe Fortnite to people who have never played it is it's the game that has everything. Want to play as Peter Griffin from Family Guy and wear a Disney Tsum Tsum bag with Nike Jordans? You absolutely can. Then, as you're driving your BMW 1 Series, you find yourself being shot at by Marty McFly and his best friend, Daffy Duck. What's even crazier than a K-pop Demon Hunters and Terminator crossover is the thousands of player-created maps that use these IPs to promote their own tycoons, shooters, and races. However, when you play Fortnite, these brands and IPs aren't just skins. They practically define the game.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh!
Are you crying?
I'm serious.
So why doesn't it feel like I'm being advertised to? Let's talk about a neat subject known as advergaming. To understand advergaming, we need to move to a certain platform to see the difference. Okay, for anyone who's ever played a mobile game ever, you probably get annoyed at an advert popping up every couple of minutes. But this isn't advergaming. This is a term known as in-game advertising. Smith refers to this as the integration of non-fictional products and brands within the playing environment of video and computer games through simulated real-life marketing communications mechanisms. Basically, it shoves it in your face. If mobile games throw adverts in the way of your experience, then advergames integrate adverts into its gameplay, and that is where the line is drawn. It delivers advertising messages through electronic games, aiming to build brand awareness and to provide a means to virtually interact with products, as Hernandez and Miner states. Basically, a racing game where all the cars are Toyotas would be considered an advergame. But where does Fortnite stand?
I'm gonna perform a song I wrote for you guys.
Oh, an original song?
Yeah, an original song, yes.
You gotta let us see it now. Good luck.
Thank you.
Fortnite Battle Pass.
In the game, you're able to interact with products like Nike shoes and BMWs, so it's advergaming, right? Well, there's no message for these products. They just exist. Additionally, no product is shown as better than another, so there's no advantage in using them in-game. So, on a surface level, Fortnite doesn't look like an advergame, but functionally, it's getting very close. It begs the question, does Fortnite need this? Well, unfortunately, Fortnite is a free-to-play title. Therefore, to monetize itself, it makes players pay for their cosmetics. Wolf and Perron explained the free-to-play model essentially as the basic game is free, and players can buy optional virtual items, avatars, skills, and various privileges, or other in-game consumables, features, or functionalities to enhance the quality of the basic game experience. There's a point to be made about whether Fortnite needs to introduce countless crossovers to constantly monetize their game. However, given the popularity of Fortnite and it's slowly coming towards its 10th anniversary, it's no surprise that Epic Games would want to invest in retaining players through wacky pop culture characters, and product placement inside their game.
One of the reasons Fortnite got so popular that year, apart from being something fresh and new that shook up the gaming industry upside down, was one of the most influential and game-changing collaborations to date. They collaborated with another global phenomenon at the time, Marvel Studios. These guys' motion was another level. The year prior, they dropped Spider-Man Homecoming, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and Thor Ragnarok. Stellar movie.
Wolf and Perron make an excellent point to help explain my statement, saying a strategy that is giving your service away for free, possibly ad-supported but may not be, acquiring a lot of customers very efficiently through word of mouth, referral networks, organic search marketing, etc. Then offering premium priced value added services or an enhanced vision of your service to your customer base. Essentially, when Fortnite adds an outlandish character such as a Twitch streamer to the game, it will naturally be all over social media, with fans and journalists alike talking about the crossover, driving people to go back to the game. In addition, Fortnite can be construed to be what Schobert and Startman call a multi-sided platform, where one side is a free product, but brands can add to the product with advertisements, with an example they use being Google with its search engine, and obviously all the advertisements that come along with it. And the final nail in the coffin for Fortnite is that items never stay in the shop forever, potentially giving players a fear of missing out, or FOMO, which Foxman compares to NFTs advertised by artists and brands, which easily correlate to in-game currencies and purchasable items from popular free-to-play titles like League of Legends, and of course, Fortnite. It presents an ironic game in itself of cat and mouse, where Fortnite constantly adds cosmetics to the game, dragging players back to check them out, only for them to leave when there's no new content to consume. Linking back to Wolf and Perron, they state, user retention is one of the most important performance metrics because it can potentially keep a game running for decades and generates continual revenue. It's clear that this is the goal that Fortnite aims for. So, instead of interrupting gameplay with ads, Fortnite builds a system where engagement is monetization. It's as if Fortnite isn't just a game, it's a platform designed to keep you there. Another question, however, how does Fortnite's story manage to not only include all of these popular characters, but validate their existence as well? First, we need to examine the story, of course, which is actually quite a lot and dips into multimedia narratives as well. So, the story revolves around the 0 Point, a mysterious object responsible for the existence of all realities. Yes, it's going to get this deep. Two main factions fight to control it, the Imagined Order, or the bad guys, and the Seven, the good guys. Fortnite's island, where the 0 Point is located, is trapped in a loop, resetting every battle, which, interestingly, is literally the game. You reset after every match, trapped in an endless loop. Every season of Fortnite is an addition to the story, and the 0 Point becomes unstable due to the fighting, causing reality to fracture. This story is insane. It's a kid's game. The fracturing pulls in characters and locations from all over the multiverse, taking away any overpowered abilities, sorry Superman, dooming them to repeat the same loop over and over again. It's the perfect anything can happen fantasy. The team at Fortnite are certainly what Jenkins calls narrative architects. They managed to build a story, although not fully coherent, that keeps fans engaged in the game, even going on to produce comics for popular characters to see what they're up to on the Fortnite island. Furthermore from Jenkins, Fortnite's narrative is a type of spatial story. The fact pop culture characters even exist in the game explains themselves through pre-existing narratives. Batman is, of course, Batman. As a thought, doesn't this mean that each character and product added has their own message and relevance to the story? Because that is a key component in advergaming. But Fortnite's story isn't exactly original, it's just very large scale compared to other reality-bending narratives. Dovey and Kennedy state that techniques of film, graphic, and text are combined in ways that reference existing forms of representation, such as cinema, television, sport, or literature. And I believe Fortnite also applies to this. Fortnite combines a multitude of different mediums to itself. One is the comics I briefly mentioned earlier, which contains integral plot elements that occur during future Fortnite seasons. Another is the introduction of live events, which are now also integral, but to the identity of Fortnite. A key point I like to make is during the Chapter 3 Season 2 live event, which includes 4 players controlling a huge mech, which is a reference, of course, to the Power Rangers franchise, years before they were added to the game. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if more references like this were subtle hints for what's to be added into the game. It's as if Epic Games predicted their game would become a global sensation and preemptively created a space where all brands exist naturally. In fact, we may just be past that point. Fortnite doesn't just have brands placed into it. Fortnite is built out of these brands. I imagine if you're not a fan of Fortnite, you'll probably think the suspension of disbelief only goes so far, right? But yet, players don't question it. It's become the norm. But why? Squire's statement presents Fortnite as one of the many games built as vehicles for player expression, thinking of game design as choreographing the rules, representations, and roles for players. In other words, the context in which players can generate meaning. Players can choose any pop culture character which may or may not relate to them, participating in a semi-roleplay activity where the player imagines being the character, traversing Fortnite's endless landscape of games, officially created or otherwise. Which means, essentially, the fact that players recognize the characters and references is the enjoyment of it. Which smoothly leads on to Squire's statement, games are used for purposes other than entertainment. Fortnite has now developed a very large library of player-created experiences, which seems to be beginning to rival the likes of Roblox. However, unlike Roblox, Fortnite has the IPs and even invites players who create experiences to use the likes of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Squid Game, and more in their project. Hypothetically, Epic Games let players use these IPs to give players something more to play and create with these brands they enjoy, besides just the skins they can purchase in-game. And on top of that, because of the anything can happen fantasy, players can imagine they are actively engaging with Fortnite's plot. Tarnowetsky describes this as the association of elements, where players create experiences with the knowledge they're adding to the wider Fortnite narrative, whether intentionally or not. This means that fans of Star Wars can enjoy their dream of creating a scenario where Darth Vader goes head-to-head with anyone, really. The game's narrative protects the suspension of disbelief just enough for it not to seem totally outlandish. Hawking on BioShock perfectly mirrors what I'm explaining. He states, well, it's a game, and the mechanics are great, so I will overlook the fact that the story is kind of forcing me to do something out of character. It doesn't matter if Darth Vader's suddenly a good guy. He's not the focus of the narrative, just a byproduct of it. I guess you could say that Fortnite doesn't just tell people stories, it lets players assemble them. It's also interesting how recently Fortnite introduced the ability to let map creators charge V-Bucks in their experiences, allowing players to gain an actual advantage in these experiences. Foxman does indeed mention the potential gains for Epic Games in doing this, as another platform for player-created games, Roblox, has been doing this for years. He describes their free play bar not only permits entry into a nascent industry while creating loyal evangelists, but also fixes hardware and software suppliers, along with their practices and ideologies within the metaverse. Fortnite is slowly but surely likely heading in this direction also, as Fox moves on to state how Roblox's parent company makes money by collecting a percentage of Roblox purchases, as well as through advertising and licensing agreements. Sound familiar? It should, but the difference? Advertisements. As Foxman mentioned, Roblox uses both advertising and licensing agreements in its game, but Fortnite uses licensing in a much different way. For example, if a player were to log onto Roblox, a flood of rip-off games from various franchises are all over the platform. Of course, Fortnite is no stranger to this as well, but the sheer volume of licenses Fortnite has in its hands means that when a player instead opens Fortnite's user-generated content page, licensed games are always at the front page. Following on from this point, a large influx of brain rot games can be seen on both platforms, and this includes games which use IPs in Fortnite. I played a couple of them, and I must admit, they're not the greatest. But what caught my eye is the sudden use of V-Bucks to buy an advantage in these games. They're becoming pay to win. If we compare this to what Wolf and Perrin mention, players are now able to buy virtual items or enhancements to improve the quality of the experience. And Fortnite lets content creators do this with a big sticker out of any of the huge selection of IPs to choose from. However, this isn't always the case, as Fortnite does prioritize some collabs over others. A good example that comes to mind is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was one of the first IPs to collaborate with user-generated content. You see, it depends on what's popular, i.e. coming out soon, and what's out now. That sounds like an advert to me. And it even tells you. So, we're coming up to Star Wars Day, May the 4th soon, and how is Fortnite celebrating? New skins, modes, and user-generated content on the front page, telling users to watch the new Mandalorian movie coming May 22nd. Now that sounds like an advertisement to me. When players buy skins and play or create user-generated content during periods like this, they're not just being advertised to, they're enacting becoming advertisers themselves. So why is no one talking about it? I believe it comes down to 2 points. First, it was a slow start. Collaborations appeared around yearly during the first 3 years of Fortnite. People didn't believe this was going to become the new norm, and instead enjoyed being able to play as their favourite characters. Secondly, it became nearly invisible. After collaborations became normalised, the fanbase started to theorise and give wishes for what IP they would like to see next in Fortnite. You see, because Fortnite managed to cover their tracks so well with their world building, people started participating in the fantasy. Fortnite never needed to interrupt play with advertisement. It somehow managed to turn play itself into an advertisement with a game that never needed them. It's the perfect advergame.
Hello.
Hi.
What's your name?
Malachi.
How old are you, Malachi?
I'm 9.
And where are you from?
London.
Okay.
North London.
Who are you with?
I'm with my mum. Yeah, and that's it.
Are you a bit nervous? All right, Malachi. Good luck.
Good luck.
When you're ready. Really cute.
Fortnite Battle Pass.
Fortnite